Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
We are back, Dave, and we're gonna keep the Hasbro train a rolling.
Let's do it.
Because we're following up 2 bonus episodes that we had with the Marvel Legends team, and then shouts again to best friend of the pod, and I guess we could say correspondent now, other Dave, who sat down with Lenny and Emily from the G.I. Joe team. But today we're gonna keep the Hasbro fan bus rolling. So this week's guest has been designing toys at Hasbro for a decade, and his unique style and touch can be found throughout the many franchises the brand makes products for. From his work back on Bakazonks and Hero Mashers to original designs for the retro G.I. Joe line, and most prominently, Transformers. We are thrilled to welcome Hasbro product designer Maher to the show. Mark, welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Hey. Thanks for having me, man. I've been listening to you guys for a little while now, so I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot to us, man.
For sure. You guys have a solid show, and I'm super excited to talk toys.
I'm always excited when someone says that, so thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's weird to think that the people that we want to have on the show listen to the show. That's still it blows my mind.
I don't have all the time in the world, for sure. Time is definitely cut in half nowadays, greatly. But I do try to get in some podcasts. I try to get in a lot of cartoons as well, as much as possible.
Gotta love some cartoons. So we're already going off the rails here. What cartoons are you watching? I gotta know.
We're breaking frame here. All right. So right now I'm deep into Super Dimension Century Orgus.
Whoa, I have never heard of that one.
So a lot of the stuff that I'm into is it's really really early Transformer stuff. So it's heavy robotics, heavy Diaclone world, and all the stuff that is kind of lurking around that early 80s era, which is all most of it was all Takara Tomy, but that's pretty much where I like to dwell in a lot of my stuff. So yeah, that's what I've been watching recently. Something kind of clicked a couple months ago, and I came across one of the toys that I used to have when I was a kid, and then I was like, oh yeah, Orgus, I forgot all about this, and I never actually got to see the animated series, so I looked online, got the Blu-rays, and now I'm deep in there, and it's been pretty fun actually. It's not the greatest animation, but the robot sequences are really cool.
All of this tracks. This is
all of this makes sense.
I mean, it's just everyone has their world that they like to dwell in. And that's kind of the world I like to dwell in. It's just all all robos.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's probably gonna come in handy for you.
It really does. Yeah.
So before we jump into the the toy design and your history with toys, we ask all of our guests, since this is a show about collecting, outside of the cartoons you're watching, what are you currently collecting?
So currently, I do not have a lot of space left in my collection. So I'm pretty much collecting one-offs, basically. Of different series of stuff. I mean, Transformers is obviously the first and foremost, and probably will always be the thing that I'm collecting. I don't think I can ever break away, but right now there are a couple other series that I haven't made the purchases yet, but I'm definitely like looking around for some good prices. The Diaclone series that Takara Tomy just released. I don't know if you're familiar with that series.
Yes.
Yeah, those robots look insane. So I definitely want to get a couple of them, and I still haven't picked up any of those Orgus figures, so I kind of want to get a couple of those, especially the main guy, the Bronco 2. I definitely want one of those because that was what I had when I was a kid. Um, I'm dabbling on trying to buy some converters. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Mm-hmm. Oh man,
Yep.
I'm just looking up that Bronco too. That thing is really really cool looking. Not what I was thinking in my head.
Super rad. It's like, it's on the Robotech Macross side of things instead of like so Transformers, you know what I mean? But the key that like draws me in is that it's still transformed. It has like three modes, and I'm just like, all right, triple changer I'm in love with. So um and I dabble in some GoBots as well.
I mean, again, there's a trend here. All of this tracks. All of this tracks.
Yeah, it's hard to break frame, and when I do break frame, it is like a Marvel Legends, and it's like I just recently got that Modoc figure from Tony, and oh my god, does it get any better than that Modoc figure?
Did you do the regular release, or did you get the PulseCon one with the cheeseburger gun?
I got the regular release. The cheeseburger gun is pretty crazy though.
Yeah, I love those kind of like random, like, I mean, it's a deep cut. It's a deep cut of a figure, that I think it's in like one or two panels in that book, but like it's such a memorable moment when you have an army of Elvis Modocs firing deadly cheeseburgers at people.
I live for the deep cuts for sure.
So, Mark, how did you find your way to Hasbro?
So it's pretty interesting, that story, because I didn't really think. I don't know why it never occurred to me when I was younger and like trying to get into a career and stuff like that. I just never really thought that like who made toys or anything like that. I just never really knew anything about industrial design or any of that stuff, really. I just completely went over my head and I just completely ignored all of it. So when I went to school, first, like my brother actually went to school for illustration, and like because both of us were like super into toys, super into art. He got me into comic books when I was like super super young, and like really good solid toys and cartoons. So thank God he did that, because that kind of formed and shaped my whole entire life basically. So you always want to be cool like your older brother. So that kind of shout out to him, Kevin Maha. Kevin Maha Design, you got to check him out. Draw some cool stuff. So anyways, so once he got out of college for illustration, he actually had a hard time getting like a career. And I was like, oh man, this dude's like nasty. Why in the world is he having an issue trying? If he can't get a gig doing illustration, I'm definitely not going to be able to get a gig in illustration or any kind of art field. So I went completely in the other direction, which is I was like, like my parents, my folks were like, computers are the way of the future. Why don't you just get into computers? So I was like, all right, I'll do computers. I like computers. So I actually went to school for computer information systems, and when I got out, I like built computers, and like I was in Boston, like taking down old PCs and installing new ones, and doing that whole that whole gig, which is. But all the while on the side, I would still do like artwork, and I was really getting heavy into like mural artwork and stuff like that. So I always constantly did like the design and artwork on the side. So in that world that I was like I used to hang out with a lot of people that went to RISD. One of them, his girlfriend, actually, this dude JJ, his girlfriend, who's super talented. He makes pottery now. He's like really, really talented. His girlfriend was a temp at the model shop at the prototyping lab at Hasbro, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And then she just described the job that she's doing to me, and I was just like, "Well, I already kind of do that on the side." I was like, "I didn't realize that could be a career." Now here I am, like, putting the pieces together once she told me like the gig, because before that, I have the Decepticon symbol tattooed over my heart. Like, I'm a diehard like Transformer fan, and I love GI Joe as well. So when I heard that, I was just like, oh my god, like, is this an opportunity to actually work on the thing that I love? And that was it. As soon as that firework went off into my head, I was just like, holy crap! Like, why didn't I do this in the first place? So I harassed the temp agency for at least like 2 years. I just harassed them until I got in, and then I finally got in, and then that was it. I just worked as hard as I could work, and then, like, that's when I met like Tony and, like, Eric Ridlon. I had like a really group of talented artists in that like little room that we used to work in, the prototyping lab, and I learned so much in such a quick amount of time about, like, prototype painting and stuff like that. I edged my way over to Transformers after I like was started to work on GI Joe stuff with John Warden, and it was it. I was just sold. Like, brand me, Hasbro, employ me for life after that. I was like, this is it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people over the past 2 years that are in the toy industry, and it doesn't cease to amaze me how it's literally like, I'm passionate about this and I'm talented and I'm just going to do it. Like, just that kind of stick to itiveness that has kind of come across from all of the creatives and designers that we've met. It's amazing to really see somebody follow their passions and then, become the thing that they want to become.
It was definitely like, it was just a very shocking experience for me, where I was just like, okay, what do I have to know to do this? Like, and then once I really started getting going in there, then I started learning, like, what designers do and product designers. So then I started taking all the classes, and then I went like super deep, and I tried to like learn everything possible in industrial design to try to like get to that world.
So speaking of the design process, we've talked a lot about your love for Transformers, and you mentioned GI Joe, but we mentioned at the top of the show that you were behind the creation of Hero Mashers, which is a product that, as fans of Lego and, kind of like the play of toys and kit bashing and things like that. Um, Tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea for Hero Mashers.
So that's yet again another pretty interesting story, pretty random. So we used to have this guy who worked in marketing, Ben Russell, a British dude. He's a good chap. He came over and was like, "Hey, Hasbro's doing this grand idea fair. You want to do it?" And I was just like, "What is it?" And so basically, the Grand Idea Fair was running for the design and development group, and like it was open to everybody else, because Hasbro's great like that. They'll say, if anyone has a great idea, you pitch the idea, and then maybe it can get made. So this Grand Idea Fair was like basically that. Like, if you had a good toy concept, like, you would then put together a presentation, and then you'd pitch the idea to like our senior leadership team, which is, kind of like one of those like dream come true moments, where you're like, oh, well, let's do this. And yet again, like what we were talking about before, I just like to kind of like sit in my little world and draw and like design and build toys and stuff like that. I'm not a very good salesman or a marketing person. So Ben Russell was like, that guy that guy could talk his way into anything, basically. He's like the smoothest talker I've ever met. So it was a match made in heaven, really. So we put together two different concepts, and then which was interesting. The other concept, I don't think it ever really got picked up by any of the teams or anything. It was interesting. It was like Bruce Banner. You'd have a Bruce Banner toy, and then like you could fit that 3 3/4 inch toy into like a 6 inch Hulk toy. Basically, you
Oh,
could
cool.
like it was
That's
so
cool.
like yeah, it was kind of cool. It was, and then you'd have Peter Parker, or like you'd have Spider-Man, and then you could get into like a Venom suit. Basically, it was kind of like to play off of the whole transformation thing.
Gotcha.
And then the other concept that we had, which was kind of across all brands. So I made these models out of like Star Wars, Marvel, and Transformers. And some of them came out pretty cool. It was like, Chewbacca with like, Megatron arms and stuff like that. And like I repainted them all. And we ended up pitching that to the senior leadership team when they were coming around. And what's really interesting is that the booth right next to us actually had like somewhat of a similar idea. And I think that was like the solidifying moment in senior leadership's team's head, where they were like, all right, more than one person is doing kind of the same idea. After Ben just like did his tap dance show and completely sold this idea onto these guys, like they went over and they looked at that, and I think that in my eyes, I think that solidified it to them, where they ended up, that concept went to, I believe it was Marvel, and I believe it was Chris Javoy. I'm not really sure who ended up working. Maybe Bobby Valla worked on it. But then they were just, that concept just like, came into being Hero Mashers. Like, it's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean that line was super cool because to your point, like you could give, I'm just thinking of the Marvel and Star Wars ones alone. Like you could make like Doctor Darth Vader, like you could mash up Doctor Doom parts and Darth Vader parts, or make Han Solo a Mandalorian. Like you could do whatever you wanted to do because all the parts were hot swappable, which was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was like one of those cool moments where you're just like, we wanted to obviously do all the licenses, but like, with licensing and everything like that, that's like a nightmare to actually get approved by like, Lucasfilm to Marvel to like to us for My Little Pony or something. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that they ended up keeping it Marvel at first. Was it just Marvel at first? And they expanded after that?
I definitely remember the Star Wars ones
The
as
Star Wars
well.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the ones I remember were the Marvel and the Star Wars, and I think the Transformers came
Hmm.
too.
there definitely were eventually Transformers ones as well because I can vividly remember like there was like a Bumblebee. I want to say it was a Bumblebee and maybe Starscream like 2-pack. So that way you can like mix and mash their parts. But
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
it was
Yeah.
that line was incredible because it kind of combined you know the action figure and kind of like the kind of like a Lego aspect, but also in a long line of people who kit bash action figures, especially ones like GI Joes or Marvel Legends. It kind of, I think, for younger either younger collectors or honestly just kids playing, it kind of forces your brain to think about your toys a different way. Like the way that they come in the package isn't the way that they have to stay. Like you can,
Hmm.
you could change them.
Yeah, it's interesting that like I think that was at the cusp of, the whole like iPads and like, social media and everything with the phone, and like I watch my niece all the time, and she's just like flipping through YouTube videos on command, like she just wants to do whatever she wants to do. So with a toy, it's if you want to take off the arms and put on new arms, you should be able to do that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're the controller of your your domain. Like you're basically in charge. You make your own toys. It does open up the mind to a lot of creativity and imagination.
It's like a there's no wrong answer toy.
Yeah.
Everything's fair game.
I like that. That's good.
So before we hop into the world of Cybertron, let's talk a little bit about the retro GI Joe line that you've worked on. What was it like to getting to work on the reimagining of such an iconic line?
Well, when I first got to Hasbro in the prototyping department, I got to like paint a bunch of GI Joes. That was right there was just an amazing dream come true. Where I would get like I worked on that Sergeant Slaughter from Comic Con, and after a little bit of time, like John Warden was really like comfortable with being like, all right, yeah, I want to do some camo pattern for his pants, but like, can you just like do it? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Of course I can. I'm like, this is Sergeant Slaughter. Of course I can. So I ended up working on a couple of those lines, and then when I got over into design, it was a crazy moment where Lenny would came over to me. He's like, "Guess what?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You're working on Retro Joe." I was like, "What?" I was like, I don't even know I didn't even know we were doing Retro Joe. What's happening here?" So I had come to find out that Edgar Surratt was working on a whole bunch of GI Joe figures, and they were branded the retro card back Joes, and I started looking at them, and unfortunately, since we work so far ahead, like we work almost like 2 years ahead now. All of the selections for that retro line were pretty much done. Like the focus of what that line was, as far as like trying to replicate the retro card backs, and then doing deco that kind of like embodies that card back, and then the molds that they chose. So I I had kind of a really easy job when it came down to it, where I was just like, oh, Cobra Commander's blue, no problem. So there wasn't too much thinking at first, which was I was like, all right, not really bummed about it, but just like, okay, like I get to work on Joe. This is amazing. So and then that was right when the Fang copter was like the gyrocopter was just made as well. The sculpt was already done, and I just got to deco it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty awesome. I can't believe we're doing the vehicles as well. So then, obviously, once we had all the meetings, I was just like, how many of these dudes are we making? Can we make how many? Like, where's the new tools? Like, let's get this going. I mean, a resurgence of Joe is always on probably everybody's toy collector mind.
Definitely.
So I ended up getting to do the new tools, which was like Stalker, and then the Grunt after that, and then the Cobra Troopers. I ended up having to use that pilot body because that was already made, and it was just, I guess, the cost. I don't know how much money they had to play with for the entire like forecasting and all of that. I really don't like kind of jump into any of that. I'm just tell me what I can have new and what I have to partial and what I have to redeco, and then I'll figure it out. The money. I don't want to get in anybody. I don't want to get in anybody's pockets. Like that's stressful. I just want to do the fun stuff.
But I mean that's that's such a, I think, a good point to consider, right? Like I think a lot of people, and us included to a certain certain degree, when we see kind of new figures, and I'm doing air quotes, right? There's always, I feel like there is kind of a precedence for a certain amount of reuse with certain figures, and I think that's something that's it's line agnostic. So whether it's a GI Joe, whether it's a Marvel Legend, whether it's a Star Wars Black Series figure, there's always going to be some level of kind of reuse. Creatively, kind of, how do you work within those confines? Like, what are some of the things that you do to kind of get the product that you want out, but working within the confines of having to reuse a body in that case?
That's a really, really, really good question, actually, because you got to see what tools are available first. I mean, a lot of molds are old, especially in Joe. Like, to in order to retool or reuse one of those old molds, you're definitely going to have to repair half of the molds for half of the pieces. So there is a cost associated with that, right? So, thankfully we have amazing engineers on on the team where I can talk to them about a lot of those things. So I conjure up kind of, the characters I want to do, and kind of like look at what's been released, and see where the holes are, and where the thirst is, like obviously Lonzo Stalker. Like, you're gonna need Stalker in this retro wave. Like, that's kind of a staple in my mind. You know what I mean? To
Hmm.
have. So to think about the reuse after you get your main character, that's the real fun part, actually. That's when it gets really interesting, and especially for Transformers. I just love to do those things, because that's where you can get your, third tier, fourth tier characters that you normally wouldn't get, because you're reusing the mold. You're making that investment worth it by redoing the mold like several times over. But if you do a good partial, and if you pick the right characters and you put the right pieces together, yeah, I mean, that other character you get out of that first character is just like it's like a brand new toy in my eyes. If it's done right, of course.
And see, I think there, so like when you're thinking about the reuse of an action figure, right? Like, maybe maybe it's the same body buck, but it's got whether it's just different paint deco, or it has different hands, or there's just kind of like a minor change. When you jump to Transformers, now you're talking about a thing that transforms into another thing that is now a completely different character, but yet somehow is reusing some of the same parts. And to me, that's like that gif of like the woman staring off into space while like the math equations are floating in front of her face. I honestly, I can't even begin to wrap my head around how that decision making even happens.
And yeah, I'm over here saying it's the fun part. I know, it is. It's really, it's super complicated stuff, but at the same time, I mean, I wouldn't want to say I have my own agenda or anything like that, but I've collected since I was a kid, and I've seen the characters that haven't had redos, and like characters that people talk about, and characters that really could shine in certain lines, where I'm just like, oh man, we gotta figure out how to get this guy in here. Like, and then that's when the wheels start to turn. Sometimes it's like, all right, like, your A tier characters all the time for a lot of the segments, especially, well, for me in Transformers and for Joe. But like, when you really start getting into those other characters, is like really where you start to flesh out that whole entire line, where you're like, oh wow, I could get this guy and this guy and this guy for like this price, and no one's gonna know, or it's still going to be a very successful toy, because like just the recolor or the repaint, or is just like going to be on point. That's actually one of my main goals in Transformer Land, is to really make sure that our redecos and our repaints and our partials are really doing justice to the other characters. Because too many times I've seen in the past where, like, I mean, alt heads are great. but if the body doesn't fit the alt head, or the weapons and the accessories don't fit that alt head to make it that guy, I get hurt by it, because like when you're hardcore, you want everything that goes with that guy to make him an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I try my I try my damnedest to do every character as much justice as possible, and so does everybody else. I mean, it's funny. Me and Evan Brooks have a chat on Teams where we just talk all day and all night. Basically, we just shoot each other ideas for partials and different characters that we can make out of other characters. Yeah, it was funny the other day. He's like, "Oh yeah, I was thinking about that in the shower, and now I can't remember what that character was that I wanted to make out of that mold." I was just laughing because it's nonstop. There's so much, like you said, it's super complicated because there's an alt mode and a robot mode, and there's a lot to consider. So you're just constantly thinking about toys in the back of your mind while you're driving and everything else.
If there is one takeaway from this interview, from anybody listening to this interview, please take away from this the fact that the people that make the things that you love think about them so much that they're they're thinking about them in the shower and talking to each other about them through Microsoft Teams at like all times of the night. Just please take that with you.
Like the thought process is happening at all hours.
It's happening right. I'm surprised Mark is able to focus on this interview and.
That's probably why it's not that great.
Oh, stop it! Stop it!
No, but it is. It's very it's labor intensive, but it's definitely a labor of love.
Oh, hands down. So speaking of another labor of love, PulseCon just wrapped up, and the new generation's legacy line was officially announced. So, how did you guys decide to take a multiverse type of approach?
That's a really good question. I think when John Warden was such a powerful figure on the Transformers brand, he did so much. That Siege line is pretty much mind blowing every step of the way. I think that everybody pretty much feels like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it'd be funny when I was down in the model shop, like I'd have like hour, 2 hour long conversations with John Warden all the time about Transformers because he was actually the guy picking the lines and like looking into all the characters and doing that like that. So he knew I was just a hardcore fan. So he would definitely like come down and just talk Transformers with me while I was painting, which is, I mean, which is like a dream come true, really. Like while I'm getting paid to paint this toy, I get to talk toys. But he had the early seeds pretty much laid down. He had this deck that he put together. When Lenny came onto the brand, he basically gave Lenny the deck, and we went through the deck with like the whole team and everything, and a lot of the ideas that John already kind of had down on paper. He had like Marcelo Martiri like doing a bunch of concept art for a bunch of the figures already. And that actually was pretty impressive to me because he was thinking so far ahead. And now that I'm in that seat, like kind of like picking the lines and stuff like that, now I understand why he was doing that because it seems like time flies so much faster. So since we work so far ahead, it seems like you're always trying to like get enough time to think about that next year as to what characters you're going to do, how's the line going to roll out and all that. So it's really interesting when he had all that information. I mean, we were just like, oh, this looks awesome. This is cool ideas. So I think the ideas of like coming into the multiverse were very popular at the time as well with Spider-Man and everything.
Oh yeah.
So I think Transformers has this insane history. It's like almost 40 years, and there's so many different characters from each universe, and it's just like, you got Armada, you got Cybertron, you got Prime, you got all these different looks and feels of all these different characters. What happened with the Prowl mold we made into Barricade, and like your first G1 Barricade, basically. It seemed like that went over really well with everybody, and I think John grasped that concept and was like, you know what? This would be really cool. Is as if we took a lot of these characters from all these different universes and kind of focused on this, like, universe where it's almost like a clean slate. Because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you know, a lot of Transformer stuff, like, it doesn't really line up a lot of times.
It gets a little hairy. That's for sure.
It gets a little muddy, it gets a little sticky. It does. It does. It's one of those things, There's so many. It's such a big brand. There's so many different facets to the brand. So what's going on in Cyberverse animation, which I recommend watching. I've been watching it. It's fantastic. Have you guys seen any of those cartoons?
I started the new Netflix series with my daughter because we actually I watched the movie with her,
Oh,
and she loved it. Uh,
awesome.
and I was like, well, we can watch more Transformers, and she's like, yeah, let's watch more Transformers. So yeah,
Yes.
we started in with Netflix, and I'm actually staring at. I just picked up the two the newest core class Optimus Prime and Megatron, and we've been having some battles. So
Awesome. Yeah, I got to actually work on that Megatron. It came out pretty sick. I was pretty happy that the gun turret on top, you can actually rotate. Oh, well, you
yeah,
get like articulation to it. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
yeah, I can't wait to actually shoot these guys. They just came in the other day.
Yeah, and plus you got the little mini Megatron gun that can also like fit into the Deluxe's hands as like a representative of Megatron turning into a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since we can't do that, which is kind of a bummer. But I have my G1 inbox over here, like staring at me at all times. That's
Nice.
one of my crown jewels.
Well. Speaking of the new line and kind of play features, one of the things that you mentioned during the presentation at PulseCon was that the Energon weapons could combine to make kind of like custom, weapons, or kind of harkening back to hero mashers again, right? Going back to being able to combine things. So how did you work out that play feature? We didn't really get to see a whole lot of it, as kind of on the table there. So just curious to see, or hear, what can we expect from that?
Well, it's interesting what happened with the fandom in the world of Transformers when the weaponizers kind of came into play, which is the guys that can actually break apart and like weaponize all the other characters across the line.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of that kind of solved the problem that I feel, maybe not a problem, that just like kind of filled in an area that Transformers has been trying to be like really, really good at filling for a long time, which is that imagination build, custom builds, like almost like what we tried to do with like Constructibots and stuff like that, where it's basically like a build your own transformer type of world,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very difficult, obviously, because you have two modes and everything. But that weaponizer category, and then we did the fossilizers.
The
It
fossilizers are so cool.
They were
right.
really cool.
Oh my
So
god,
cool.
dude, so cool! I thought the same exact thing because those were still part of Warden's era. I did get to work on a couple of them afterwards, the Ractonite I got to do the deco for, and then Wingfinger I worked with Hasui-san and Takara Tomy to do that guy, which was a partial off of the first Paleotrex, which doesn't even look anything like that first character at all because it's obviously a pterodactyl compared to a T-Rex. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the fossilized is just, I mean, that's just good toy making. That's all. That's all the fossilizers are. It's like, oh, this dinosaur that breaks up into fossils and weaponizes all these other guys into bone armored, insane robots. Okay, sign me up.
Yeah. Talk about toyetic, right?
Yeah. So once that kind of exploded, where just seeing all kinds of amazing builds out on social media and all across the forums and everything. I don't know if you've seen some of them. The one that really sticks in my mind, that will always stick in my mind, is I think it was either 4 or 5 Paleotrexes that was combined into looking like almost like a predator.
I think I've seen some. I've honestly been checking out like the hashtags on them. Well, I mean, not like today, but a few weeks, months ago, checking out the hashtags on them and seeing the custom builds. And yeah, I've seen stuff where like people have built stuff that has like a wingspan that's like almost a foot long, and like kind of just all these crazy combinations of stuff that I don't know how people have the vision to even like figure out what to use where to make something like that. But yeah, it's that play feature was incredible.
Yeah, once that opened up the Pandora's box, I think that's where the Energon weapons came in, where we were like, okay, if you can do that to all these characters, why can't you do that with the weapons? So, and also, as you know, the combiner that will be coming should have the ability to have large customized weapons.
Yeah.
So why not have that kind of play feature fit into that whole entire category? I think that's kind of where it all started. I mean, Energon is always a constant thing. I mean, I wish I could, put all LEDs and all of these characters to have the lifeblood of Energon flowing through them. But you can't, because
Hey,
then these.
listen, if you can have Jay and Silent Bob reveal a self-transforming Optimus Prime, man, who knows what's possible in a few years? Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's very true. I mean, that was what price point, $700, and they sold it right out
Yeah, twice sold out twice.
Yeah.
twice. Yeah.
2 runs gone in like minutes.
Phew. I mean, it's amazing when you see it. You're just like, oh, I obviously want one of those.
Yep.
When the present so funny story, now that the presentation is gone and everything is public, when we did the fan wall, that was the first time that they did the fan wall, where they had members of the community kind of there to do like the reactions.
Yeah.
um they wanted to test like the feed and everything beforehand to make sure we can all log in, and it was like a day before, and the room that they put us in was the same as like they put us in like the actual dress rehearsal room. So we're sitting there just kind of like BSing with each other, and then all of a sudden the feed cuts to Jay and Silent Bob, and we're like, what is this? And like we're all muted, so like at that point we can't even talk to each other. And then all of a sudden, like the feed cut as soon as Optimus Prime started transforming on his own, and we were like, "What is this? What's happening?" And then all of a sudden the feed cuts, and they're like, "You didn't see anything. No, none of you saw anything." And we're like, "Okay,
Wow.
we'll be back tomorrow." And it was just like it was incredible, and obviously like everyone who was a part of it was totally cool, and everyone kept their mouths shut, and
That's awesome.
everyone was behaved. So the next day when we got to see the full reveal, it was, yeah, to your point. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like it's like a childhood wish, right? Like asking
It's
your
the thing
Optimus
you've always
Prime.
wanted Transformers to do.
Yeah.
That and combine. So like it's
Yeah.
we've been getting everything at this point.
Yeah, it is definitely the golden age of toy collecting, really. I mean, there's so much good stuff like being released all the time. That's why I pick and choose now, and I'm very picky
Yeah, man.
because I mean, you only have so much room, and there's just so much good stuff out there. I actually recently just got a 6-inch Rocksteady figure too, which was bananas.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of the turtles as well. I should have said that before.
Hey, it's all good here. I'm
Yeah.
looking at turtles right now, actually, in my little display.
Yeah, that's such a solid toy line. I backed that Kickstarter book that came out a little while ago. It was all the toy concepts for all the turtles, uh, all the lines throughout the years. It's the 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 book knocked me out of my socks. I was just like, oh my god! Some of the illustrations in there for the concepts of the guys, I was just like, this is the reason why I want to be where I am right here.
Is that the Varner Studios one?
I believe so.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. I've been they're one of my favorite follows from our account on Instagram because they've post like wax molds of figures that never existed. So like they've been posting
Yes.
wax molds of uh the Toxic Crusaders Wave 2 that never existed.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like seeing those instantly just takes me back. I could smell the slime.
Yeah.
It just takes me right back. So it's awesome getting the peek behind the curtain, as it were, on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been actually trying to get our team to do more of the peeking behind the curtain. So hopefully everyone can be more vocal about trying to get more info. There's so much like love that goes into each one of these toys. It's hard to capture all of the details and all of everything that goes into it. So I'd love to have that forum. So if people would like to hear that kind of stuff, I mean, be vocal about it so we can try to get it done. You know.
And now, a word from our sponsors. And now, back to the show.
That's really cool. And, you always want to see or hear stuff like that. Those peeks behind the curtains, those things that we would have bought, things like that. Or just even the stages of just production. So, speaking of the line, and speaking of you being an outspoken G1 enthusiast, um, the line will give you the opportunity to pull from a deep catalog of designs. Are there any parts of Transformers history you're particularly excited to work on?
I would love to say. I would love to say the ones that I am very very excited about. I can say I was really really stoked about doing an Action Master, which was the jackpot with the Pterodactyl Battle Master. Action Masters is something that I wasn't into as a kid. I kind of left the game when Action Masters came out. So getting back into Action Masters is really interesting, especially for Transformers, because it's just so break frame from regular Transformers. So I was really excited to work on that. I even though I didn't do the head sculpt, actually, I think that was in the Jazz mold, the Studio Series Jazz mold that Evan Brooks did. So he ended up putting in that jackpot head in the mold, so then we could redeco it later on. So once I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, we gotta find a we gotta find a space for this guy. We need an Action Master, especially because Super Seven did that Bonsai-tron." And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, they beat us to the punch here. I was like, but Action Masters is super cool. It's just really, really weird. It's really cool color schemes. So I'm super excited to do anything Action Masters. Um, Other lines that are very cool that I would love to kind of peruse around. Not no spoiler alerts, but this is just me talking. I'd really like to get into the really weird series. I don't know if they say weird, but like obscure that we really I don't know. There's not a lot of there's not a lot dedicated to a couple of these series, but they did exist, and the toys were actually really cool. Machine Wars is one of them. I don't know if you guys know about the Machine Wars.
Not super familiar with it.
It's really, yeah, it's kind of obscure. It's really weird. Super cool though. I mean, like, there's just really cool stuff going on there. G2 is we just did Laser Prime, and I love G2 figures. G2 got really crazy with color schemes. Anything that kind of has an insane color scheme, I pretty much love. I just it just breaks frame from your norm, and that's kind of what draws my attention. And the color schemes are just like really, really good for Transformers. And when you go into that G2 series, you get to find like a really bunch of really, really cool and obscure ones where you're just like, wow, didn't even know this existed.
So one of the other things too that I feel like we've talked a lot about the design of the actual character, right? But I feel like over the years the transforming aspect of the figures gets better and better and tighter, and what's the term, less kibble, right? Um, what's it like working with Takara Tomy and seeing your designs go from vehicle to robot and back and forth, and really kind of seeing them come to life?
It's mind blowing, to be honest with you. It really is. I mean, when we kick off a product to Takara Tomy, especially a lot of the stuff, especially because I'm a G1er, a lot of the early G1s were licensed vehicles. Really, they were just, I don't know if they were really licensed, but they were straight up looking like the licensed vehicles.
Yeah, yeah.
So now that we're not doing licensed vehicles, so it's very interesting to kind of make up like your own fantasy vehicle for the guys' alt modes. So that's a interesting world to explore. And as you've heard me on the PulseCon, like, we work with a bunch of super talented concept artists out there, like Dan Kana and Robbie Musso and everything. Like, so we go back and forth, and I go back and forth with Takara and that's actually the really, really fun part, is the back and forth. Is just like, they have ideas, we have ideas, and it's like everyone's super passionate about it. We all just want the best toy that we could possibly make under the parameters that we're given, and plus, have really solid engineering, which is yet a whole huge category of Transformers that I don't think gets enough love, or isn't talked about enough, because it's so complicated. And that's kind of what you're talking about, is like, you get to see the transformation steps. I mean, you can give suggestions to Takara as to what you're thinking for transformation, but in all reality, they own transformation. They're the masters. They've been doing it, like Kunihiro-san's been doing it since like the 80s.
Wow.
And it's just, the you work with the guy that made the toys that you grew up on, that you absolutely love. It's one of those moments where you're just like, is this real? Is this real life? Is this really my job? What's going on here?
It's just amazing to me because, like, again, to kind of reference these two little core class guys that I picked up. It's a $10 price point toy that has two modes, like
Hmm.
two very clean modes. But when it's in robot mode, like, he has full articulation. I mean, like, you can like, you can get him in like a natural walking pose with like bent knees and like and like a swiveled torso and a turned head, and like he looks, it's insane. It is actually insane, the amount of like articulation that is in just kind of the robot mode alone, let alone like you mentioned with Megatron, you turn him into the tank and all of a sudden he's got a turret that rotates. It's like it's just, to me, it's mind blowing. It's so far beyond the Transformers I remember playing, like
Oh,
Dave's
man.
old
Oh yeah.
Transformers. Like when we were kids. You know, it's just it's mind blowing. It is mind blowing how far the like tech has come.
And I
Oh,
mean, those
yeah.
were even still very intricate then, but yeah, like with the core class ones, those are pretty neat because it's like everything that you could do at the time, but fit into like a smaller and better price point. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely mind blowing. I mean, I still love obviously the old G1 toys, even though some of them can't even bend knees, and it's ridiculous
Hmm.
the articulation factor. But they're still magical. It's still the magic of being able to turn something into something else without even being able to tell, like that it turns into the other thing. Where you're like, oh my god, there's a robot inside of this jet. What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And then you do it, and you're just like, you feel like you just won a prize. You're like,
Hmm.
I accomplished this puzzle. I am the man. Where's my next puzzle? And a lot of people don't
Yeah.
talk about the puzzle play either. Like, you get this is a 2-for-1 deal, Stop and Shop special here. You get two figures for one price. You get accessories, and I mean the magic that's there, the learning capabilities that you have with the physical touch and just your mind working to transform something. It's There's so much involved that there's so much to love. That's really the reason why, as you can see, I don't really break frame too much.
Well, everyone used to, so when we were in office, when my office job that I had, my stress reliever was I guess it was a deluxe dark energon prime, Optimus Prime, with like the
Great
like
toy.
translucent orange and purple and stuff.
Great toy. I
Um,
remember painting that. That was a goodie.
Oh, I didn't realize you worked on that one. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my stress relief toy. So when I was at work, like I always had toys around me on my desk, but like if I was on like a call or if I was doing some kind of like long video edit where I needed to, watch stuff for a long time, I'd be noodling with that thing back, and I could almost transform it with my eyes closed at this point because it has gone back and forth so many times. Um but that's honestly, like, as an adult, the as much as I usually like cringe when I mention it, but like the Michael Bay movies, that especially that first one made me look at Transformers again, like for the first time in a really long time. And then as an adult too, I was like, who wants a stress ball when I can have a Transformer instead? So like, and then too, it was like, okay, so like I started going back and I found that Optimus Prime, but I was like, it's kind of sick that Bumblebee is a Camaro now, because like I can also have like Camaro on my desk at any at any given time. So it's just those little things, and again, like it became a stress relief. The little clickety clackety noises, the what do they call it now? ASMR,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sound of it transforming, the kind of feel in your hand, and again, you feel like you won a prize, like when you get it and you time yourself. It's
Yeah, that accomplishment. That accomplishment does a lot, especially when you're a kid. I'm sure when you can conquer a transformer without instructions. I mean, I remember when I was in the model shop and I would first get the gray models, and that would be the first time I would see the actual toy that the designers are making with Takara Tomy, and that was literally my favorite thing to do. I would like clear my my hour, especially if it was like a masterpiece or something, and I would just sit there and transform the prototype and just just try to figure it out, without any instructions or anything. And that experience right there is just so satisfying to be able to grab something that you've never seen before, transform it into its robot mode, and then obviously take it apart and then paint it. But it was just a magical experience being able to do that. You were like a kid in the candy store. You got to try out the first everlasting gobstopper. You know,
That's awesome. Yeah, like for me, I always go back to Soundwave. He was like a cassette player. I thought that was the coolest when I was a kid.
Coolest
Yeah.
boombox ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the boom boxes are amazing. We just revealed that blaster. I'm so excited about that, dude. Came out dope.
So now with the new Transformers film announced, um, and coming out in the near future, are you excited to see Transformers like Optimus Primal and Cheetor go from toy to film and back to toy in the studio series?
I mean, say whatever you want about the movies and the Michael Bay franchise. I can still watch all the movies and I still find enjoyment on all of them. And it's still fascinating to me to watch a Transformers movie, to see these guys live in action and actually transform on screen. I mean, that first movie where Blackout transforms and he's got like a holographic pilot and he just wipes out an army base.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It just my mind was on the floor like an ooze. I was just like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing I have ever seen in my life." And
I mean,
that's how I feel. I feel like every single time an announcement for a movie for Transformers is going to happen, I feel the same exact way. I'm like, this is going to be mind blowing.
I am so here for a Ron Perlman Optimus Primal. I literally, I cannot wait for that giant robot monkey. I cannot
it
wait.
like the fact that there's a Beast Wars movie coming
I,
is just
I just,
it's so
I'm
cool.
so
Like it's
excited.
it's
So
almost like, well,
cool.
what's left? Oh yeah, Beast Wars. Like there were the Constructicons at one point. Like they've just been
Yeah, I don't
they
care how dumb they
yeah.
are. They're
It's
just so much fun.
I just want to see Transformers transform and like blow stuff up.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah,
It's fun.
it's all about the action when it comes to Transformers. Even in the cartoon, like I was just even those like little segments in between each like commercial break where like Jazz would fly in, transform and spin around and shoot. I was just like, oh my god, that's like the coolest thing in the world. Are you kidding me? And that
Now,
was just a commercial break.
now I have to ask: Have you had the opportunity to go on the Transformers ride at either
I
Universal? Yeah, you have.
I have, and
It's
it's
the
a wild ride.
best when Peter Cullen kneels down and is talking to you, and you truly get a chance to appreciate how big Optimus Prime would be to like
Yeah.
you, a human. I to this day, I cannot wait to go back and take my daughter on that ride because I leave that ride with like my cheeks hurt from grinning the entire time because it's just
Yeah.
like this is real. Like I can't believe this is happening.
I'm so happy to hear that because that's exactly how I felt. You know, I mean, I even like that. I like that character Evac that Universal Studios like kind
Yeah,
of worked with Hasbro to come up with in the deluxe toy. Remember, I think Joe Kide actually worked on that toy. He ended up putting an alt head in that mold, which was a Frankenstein head. It was it was never gonna be used, but there was room in the mold, and he put it in there. And then when I got the gray model in, I looked at the head. I'm like, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, is this? How did this get in here? You know what I mean? And then I run down to Joe, and I'm like, Joe, I'm like, this is a Frankenstein head, and he's like, oh yeah, I know. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, it was yeah, that ride though, that ride is really intense. It's really cool. That I and just seeing the guys suited up in the Megatron outfit walking around outside and yelling at people and stuff is
yeah,
that's a treat too. I mean, Universal Studios is a treat, you know.
it is. It is. Like I said, I'm excited to go back for my daughter's now old enough to appreciate some of it. So I'm excited
Yeah,
to
it's a
get.
lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of fun. Yeah, I'd love to go back.
So outside of your work at Hasbro, you mentioned it earlier on that you produce some other art. So I've seen it. You know, you produce some gorgeous work on what most would still consider to be a more unconventional medium. So tell us a little bit about Overspray Studios.
Thank you for the kudos. So Overspray Studios, which was kind of the child of me and my buddy Jimmy Osteo. He actually works in as a set painter for the films and everything. He's actually working on Hocus Pocus 2 right now.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Yeah.
that's shooting in Rhode Island, isn't it?
Yeah. He's super talented, amazing work that he does. But that was definitely the brainchild for Overspray Studios. But before Overspray Studios, I think it was when I was younger. I just I got exposed to graffiti at an early age, just like riding around in the back seat of my mom's car, like on the highway. There was like a really prominent graffiti scene in Providence and in Rhode Island, so there wasn't really anywhere you could go without seeing it. So kind of made like a weird impression on me where I was just like, oh, look at that, that's cool. It's like a big devil face on the side of the highway. I wonder who did that. It's so cool, you know. So when I was a little older, I started like kind of getting into it where I was just like, oh, this is actually really cool. Like there's an enormous amount of talented people out here like doing all kinds of amazing artwork. So I started getting into it, and then like I realized that, you know, obviously it's kind of dangerous. So I was like, maybe, maybe let's try to do more of the murals and practice and actually try to get good before I do any of the dangerous stuff. So I focused more on like a lot of the murals and stuff, and thankfully a lot of like barbershops and a lot of people would like allow me to just paint their wall and paint whatever I wanted, which it was a blessing and a curse, I'm sure, for them. But I learned an incredible amount, and also I kept meeting all of these super talented artists in that world where, you know, some of them, like, you know, eventually as I kept with it, the more and more I would meet them, the more and more I would realize that, wow, a lot of these people actually like have like really good careers in the art world. And the exposure that I kind of got from all of these different people and different walks of life, and like kind of different styles and different aesthetics, and it just really made a large impact on me where I like really went in. I went in real deep on the murals, and then I just started doing it for basically a business. Me and Jimmy just got together. We got a studio downtown in Providence and revamped the whole thing, turned it into an art gallery, and then I mean we just constantly did the art hustle, really, like try to sell canvases, sell artwork, have shows, and but mainly focusing on a lot of installs, a lot of mural installs. You know, been in a lot of different places, met a lot of different people, and thankfully, you know, that was the reason I found out about the temp job at Hasbro was through one of those people that was in that world where I was just like, oh, you do what? And then that kind of led me to what I'm doing now, which is something that I love to do. I don't have as much time as I did before to do a lot of that work, but currently I'm actually getting another studio right now, and I'm going to try to start doing a little bit more here and there. I only pick like certain projects now because, you know, it's labor intensive. Doing wall mural work is very labor intensive, but I really like it because it's a break frame from sitting behind a laptop or sitting behind a desk. You're out in the world, you're kind of like, you know, out in the moment, and it's just large scale. It's very freeing. It's very like a freedom of expression, you know, of like whipping your arm around from like left to right as far as you can go to make a line is just like it's a indescribable experience. Do it. You should try. Always try to urge anybody that is into drawing or anything like that. You should try to paint a wall because it breaks your mind up where you're just like, wow, this is a whole different. This is like more of a full body sport here. This is, like, and then once you get into the ladders and everything, that's when, definitely jumping into the bath of Epsom salt and taking a bunch of ibuprofen. But it but it makes you wicked sore. But I mean, it's well worth it in the end because you get that final product that you worked years and years and years to develop the skill with the spray paint can and all the other materials that you use to accomplish that like piece of artwork where you're just like, oh, all right, yeah, like I feel good about that.
Listen, I spray painted a bookcase in my backyard once, and 2 coats, and my hand was frozen in that like pushing down the the like button, like it was. I thought I had carpal tunnel, so I can't imagine. I can't imagine doing an entire wall. That would not work well for me. I don't think.
I can't imagine doing something creative with it. Like for me, it's complete utility. Like
No,
yeah, that's
it is. It takes a long time to develop the feel and touch and it's pretty difficult. But I mean, when you see all these people around the world and what they actually produce with a can of spray paint, you're just kind of mind blown. You know what I mean? You just don't even understand it sometimes. I definitely don't. I'm bewildered by most of the stuff that I see nowadays.
it's one of those things where I just have the utmost of respect for it because it's like I said, just having used spray paint as a utility, like I can't imagine just the sheer amount of ability that goes into that.
It's intense. It takes a while to learn for sure. There's a lot of times, man, when I first started, all I wanted to do was quit. I couldn't stand how bad I was at it. It's so frustrating. A lot of people do. A lot of people put it down after a while where they're just like, you don't work through all the problematic like situations to get better. You're just like, you know what? This is for the birds. I'm all set.
So does that art style ever inform your choices when playing with color during toy design?
100%, man. I've used a lot of Transformer color schemes for art murals, and it's the same thing. Stuff that I've learned in that mural game, like I've applied to deco sheets for Transformers and everything. Just it's seamless. I mean, you learn so much from that world that it's really cool to like scale down everything and kind of put it into. Even when I was painting models, it was the same exact thing. It was just like everything would influence each other, and you're just always constantly trying to build and get better and use this as inspiration for that. It's it's fun. It's really fun. It's definitely a lifelong process for sure.
I still, man, the thing that I would love to see is I would love to see you do art for one of the classified figures. Like I would love for you to be like the like Mark Maha did the art for the eventual G.I. Joe
Oh,
classified figure. Like each box has its own artist.
yeah, that's right.
Your
Yeah,
art
right.
would be perfect for it because it's like each one has its own character, its own its own kind of feel, and you're so connected with with the line and with the IP that it would be awesome to see your art on there. It'd
Yeah,
be
thanks,
awesome.
man. Yeah, I would be honored for sure. I mean, there's so many powerhouses that are doing those. They're coming out fantastic. I mean,
Hmm.
just the classified line is pretty mind blowing in itself. My brother keeps calling me about it all the time. He's like, "Oh, I finally got Major Blood." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I could have tried to get that from you at work, but I'll tell you, it's hard. It's hard to even get them at work. They go like hotcakes, man. You know."
Yeah, and the distribution currently doesn't help anybody.
I mean, the figures are so good.
They are.
It's kind of it is like I was saying before. It's the golden age. It's the golden age. We have so much to choose from, and there's so many good things being produced. Can't get enough.
Well, before we wrap up with our last question, I think it's time for a little Q&A. This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you. So these are 3 questions that came from no one in particular. We have had a bunch of questions that came in that were very similar, so we just kind of combined them to make 3 questions for you. Dave, would you like to take the first one?
I would. What is your favorite and least favorite bot to actually transform?
Oh man, wow, that's a good one. That is a good question. All right, so I know my least favorite is that actually it's a whole series of figures. The Human Alliance series of figures, I cannot stand transforming those figures at all. There is just too much going on for me. I just yeah, I have a rule in my transformations that I love. Anything that you can open up almost to be a huge like puzzle piece, flat puzzle piece with pieces all over the place. I'm all set. I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't have 3 hours for this. I'm sorry. I can't do it. It's too frustrating. So the Human Alliance series gets me. I mean, it's a dope series. Like the vehicle modes are really cool, and it's like really cool that you get the human guy with it. But yeah, that series gets me every time. My and what was the other one?
Yeah, your favorite.
My favorite bot. Oh wow! I mean, oof, that is tough. That is a tough one. And I'm going. This is what I'm gonna go with because I'm a G1er. I'm gonna go with. Obviously, the typical answer would be Optimus Prime because his transformation's great. But I'm going to go with my favorite character actually, which is Cyclonus, and the transformation isn't really good. It's just like I really, really like that figure,
Fair.
and I really, really like the character, so I'm gonna go with
The
that.
question
Yeah.
wasn't best, it was your favorite. It was, and that's one of those
All
things,
right.
right? Your favorite doesn't have to be the best. It's just your favorite.
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite. That jet mode for that G1 Cyclonus is still to this day a mind-blowing jet.
All right, next question. While you guys are good about announcing new product before it hits shelves, there are still surprises in the toy aisle. Is that done on purpose?
Ah, the surprise and delight.
Well, I saw this question come in from a couple different people, and I was actually thinking about it because I had never really thought about it before. But like, pretty much every single figure that you see on a shelf now from a major company, whether it's Hasbro, Mattel, McFarlane, whatever, there is some sort of social media announcement for it before it comes out, and or a live stream, right, to actually announce it. But with Transformers, there is a lot of like there was a whole Bumblebee line that was in like new packaging with no plastic, like it was an all cardboard packaging, like the new boxes and everything, that was not shown anywhere, period. But like it's out and you can buy it and they look great, but like there was like no pomp and circumstance with it. Um So yeah, do you guys do that on purpose to kind of give people that like nice little?
I mean, so yeah, that's kind of not really my camp, you know. That's kind of like what marketing is. You know, they're dabbling, they're playing games, they're they're figuring it out, they're figuring out what's a cool strategy and whatnot. I kind of, I kind of stay out of that, but I do actually like the fact that that is happening. I can say that because there was a feeling that you used to get when you were a kid and like your mom took you to the store or whatever and you were going to get a new toy and everything was new to your eyes, really. And especially when you went to a different toy store. I mean, I don't know what toy stores that you guys used to go to. The one that sticks out to me was Sears. I don't know if you had a
No, we had
Sears.
KB and Toys R Us were the two big ones for us.
Oh well, that's. I mean, how old are you guys? How old are you guys? Did
No,
I ask you that?
Dave,
No, I'm
Dave,
40.
yeah, and I'm 33.
Oh, all right, all right. So no, don't remember the Zers, huh, Dave? No,
Nah,
didn't have those around there.
No,
No, interesting. Ames, how about Ames? Do you remember Ames?
I think there was, but
we also had Bradley's and Caldor.
yeah, and like Kmart.
Ooh, Caldor's a good one. Kmart, that's a goodie.
Like there was,
But KB Toys was
I
good
feel
too.
like
Yeah,
Ames
that's true.
was out of the area before I remembered.
New
Ah,
Jersey's weird, man. Like we
interesting.
have like all even like the stores now, like the Rosses and like the Ollie's, and some of these other stores, like they're not in New Jersey. They're just, they
There's,
like skip
I think
us. I
there's
don't.
like 2 Rosses that I'm aware of.
Jersey is interesting. I'll give you that. I've been to Jersey a couple times, and all I can remember is like golf courses and plazas. That's all I can remember.
We got a little bit more than that, but like, yeah.
I went to Atlantic City. I
There you
did
go.
do that. That was pretty cool. We went off Atlantic City though, and we got like some really really good Cambodian food at this like really really small joint. And all me and my friends like fit into this place. It was like super small. It was like a closet, so we're all up on top of each other and everything, trying to eat noodles. It was great.
Best kind of places.
Good time.
Best kind of places.
Yeah, it was a good time. But so surprise and delight. I think, yeah, I think a no comment is coming out of my mouth, and I'm gonna give you the definitely pay attention to the stores. Like, get out there, go search around. There could be even more programs like that, which is pretty wild. I mean, I know what you're talking about, the Buzzworthy Bumblebee. I worked on the 4-pack for the Buzzworthy Bumblebee. I worked on the that Cybertronian mode Bumblebee, which we finally got that done. That he's like the little
Mm-hmm.
UFO with the
Mm-hmm.
golden rods. Pretty amped about that one. Pretty amped. We finally get there. But that Fangry was really dope in that 4-pack. I was super excited about him. And even that Black Arachnia repaint, which had the toy head, but it was based on the card art from back in the Beast Wars days, where she had the leopard skin bra on, which is wild. It was just like, now see, those kinds of color schemes is what I'm talking about. Like, those are the ones that give me the warm and fuzzies, and I get super excited about because they're so different. They're just so different from any toys that you can get. But yeah,
Surprise and
yeah,
delight.
it's kind
We
of a
got it.
crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, kind of a crappy
Not
answer. I
not at
don't know.
all. Not at all.
Not at all.
Dave, do you want to
Uh,
finish out our Q&A?
I will. Has the team ever considered including more human characters from either the film or the cartoon in the line, whether it's something like an in scale or I guess 3 3/4 would sort of be in scale, probably smaller actually, or even like a classified
Yeah.
style.
Hmm. I can tell you this. I mean, we've talked about it, especially me coming out of Joe. When I first got on the Joe, I was just like, "Where are the O-ring figures?" Like right away. Someone told me retro figures. I was like, "O-ring, right?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Well," I got really mad, and then I was like, "No, no, these are cool though. These are
Well,
cool."
now it's O-ring.
And then, well, yeah, I'm definitely a proponent of that. I wish I could actually send you some files. I have like a whole presentation for the O-ring, like broke it all down into all the pieces, like what material we're gonna use. Actually, I got Dan Connor to do this like sick O-ring illustration that like cut Snake Eyes in half so you can see like the glowing O-ring inside of them.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It was really good. Maybe we can get that out there somehow. Um, but yeah, we talk about it all the time, really, and we have meetings with our fan council, and they talk about it all the time too. So there's a want there, There's like there's like a lot of characters that we could actually do for that kind of like scale. It would be definitely, excuse me, a weird scale because of like, what would you make it for? Would you make it for like our commanders or our leader scale? And then there would have to be like that almost the 3 3/4, but not really, like a little almost shorter. I mean, we've done a lot of like characters in the past, like that Human Alliance series, those had figures. I mean, we just did we do a lot of slug figures though. I mean, Transformers really, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get the human figures in there.
Yeah.
I mean, well, all I can say is we talk about it for
Because
sure.
who wouldn't want another John Cena figure? I mean, I know Dave would want it.
I would get it.
Would you get it?
Yeah.
All right. See, that's good information right there. Because I mean, I'm obsessed with the robots. Like the human figure are on the side for me, but you know what? Those Prime, we did some slug figures for Prime, which was the human figures that were pretty popular in that series. But they were just slug figures, but they were definitely a tiny scale. It would be cool. I'm totally
Or
on board.
like a John Totoro.
Ooh, that would be pretty good. Yeah, I'd enjoy
then-
that.
and-
Yeah, like especially for studio series.
And
for sure.
it would be cool too, like even if they were like it would be almost like mask scale, right? Like the mask old school like mask figures.
Oh, maybe we could build the tool where we could make the mask figures afterwards. How about that?
Listen, I'm
How about we do a little of that?
always
mean,
pitching
you-
mask. Oh, never
Yeah,
never
Mask
not
is,
pitching mask.
Yeah, mask is always something I'll be on board for sure.
Oh, well, that's good to hear too,
Oh, that
man.
was-
I mean,
That was one of my favorites when I was much younger.
wow. Yeah, I mean, that cartoon was really good.
Hmm.
The cartoon was pretty spectacular. You know what? That's something that I haven't done in a long time is watch one of those episodes. I remember not too long ago, I tried to break out a He-Man
Oof.
disc, and I was like, oh
Yeah, no.
I can't even do this.
And I was recently talking about that with with the reintroduction of He-Man and the Revelation show. I was talking to a couple of people about that, and it's like, yeah, don't go back. Let let you remember that the way that you remember it, and just let it go.
I love it. I still like it. It's still fun to look back on.
I'm
yeah,
I'm
it's-
glad you can still enjoy it. I really
Yeah,
am. I wish I could.
I know, I'm in that camp too. It was hard. I turned it off. I was like, yep, I can't do
Well,
this.
when they said that the new show was going to be a sequel to it, I was like, if I'm going to watch the new show, me,
How you do your
like,
prep?
yeah,
It's been a
that was
long time.
Exactly why I did. Yeah.
and then I was like, I guess I could watch these with Maddie. She might like them. And then I got through like 2 episodes, and I was like, nah, I can't even leave this on in the background. Like no.
Yeah, no, you're right. There are the awkwardness is just
Yeah.
wild. You're just, how did I want? What? I don't know. It blows my mind. But I will sit through a lot of stuff just to relive those memories.
Well, with that, Mark, you have survived the Q&A, which brings us to our final question. Dave, would you like to take up your role as this podcast, James Lipton, and ask the final question?
I would love to. So the final question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite and or strangest piece in your collection? It can be one of each, or it can be both.
Ooh. Yeah, this is a good one. All right. You ready for this one? This is one I knew it was coming. So my strangest and I would say my most collector, probably my most valuable piece as well. Really, I think so. So I thankfully I've gotten a gift from Takara Tomy, Rika-san, who works out there, a while back when I was still a model artist. It was at a BotCon. And it is a lucky draw Vac Metal Gold Magmatron toy,
Whoa.
sealed in box, mint condition.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of research on it, and I've talked to a lot of different people, and I know there's more than one, but I think there's 10. I think there's 10, so it's definitely 1 out of 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Magmatron. It was part of that whole Beast Wars Neo series out in Japan.
No, I actually have seen pictures of I'm trying to pull one up real quick to refresh my memory, but like it's got the yeah, I just found another one.
The,
Yeah. Dave is
the
sending it with the
three
three
pre
with the yeah. Yep.
Oh, this
the
is
three
really
cre I
cool.
mean, it's a banana. The toy is bananas. Like Magmatron in itself is just a bananas toy. And I think what ended up happening is that came up in conversation, and I went on a tear about how insane that toy is because it literally is insane. It's so different, and it's like three creatures that combine into this combiner, and it's like Magmatron. Like the name just sings to me, and even the color schemes of the creatures are
Yeah, like if it
wild.
were not painted all gold, it's like one is red, one is like a slate blue, and then is the other like silver or gray.
Yeah, it's
And when they're together, it's just
yeah,
yeah, that is a wild color palette.
yeah. So it's definitely that. I would say that that's probably my best piece. So
Awesome. We got we got to add that one to the list of top ones. That might be right up there with solid gold Migo Caesar head.
whose was that? The
M-
solid
Mar-
gold Mego
Marty
Caesar head.
Abrams of Migo himself has a
Oh
solid
wow.
gold Migo head of Caesar from Planet of the Apes.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna drop another one on you
All
before
right.
we leave, because it came to my mind and I forgot all about it. I don't know why that just dropped into my mind, but I had. You remember Bot Shots by any chance?
That one does not ring a bell for me. Dave, do you remember Bot Shots?
No.
So Bot Shots was a whole like program Transformers. It was these little rollback. Well, actually, we took the rollback out of them, I believe. You could. They were like little chibi versions
Yep.
of the
I'm
dudes,
looking them up. I
Yeah, I'm
remember
looking at this
I
now.
remember them by look. I didn't remember that they were called. It was an actual
Oh,
like
this is
game.
like Battle
Yeah.
Beasts.
Yep.
Yes, it is like Battle Beasts. Good. I'm glad that you said that. I love Battle Beasts. So you'd roll them into something, preferably another player, and then they would flip up, and then they have like the spinny square on their chest that would reveal like the power and whatnot, and then you'd play that game. That which they were very popular, and I couldn't tell you how many of those things I painted, but I have a ROM bot shot, which I was never released,
Oh.
which was pretty wild. I don't even know. Maybe there's a picture of it online.
Um. Yeah.
I
I
never
actually
really even checked.
gotta love the internet, man. I just found a wiki dedicated to bot shots, and and
You know the wiki guy, Matt Karpowicz?
No.
Oh man, if you want someone on your show to talk about Transformers, that's the guy. That's the guy. He knows every single thing about Transformers ever in the entire history of Transformers. Wrote the whole wiki himself. He's such a good dude too. Just amazing. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rom right now. Rom the Space Knight. Canceled.
Yeah, I got that. I got that little gem. I got that guy. Yeah, that one's not going to see the light of day, I don't
Hey,
think.
maybe you never know. What's old is new again forever. So maybe Bot Shots is going to make its return.
Well,
Oh wow.
Triumphant
I don't
return.
know. They did really well. I mean, what do you guys feel about Rom? You
I
like
mean, it
Rom?
looks awesome. Look at him.
The space. I'm into the Space Knight. I think he's pretty cool.
That's a cool looking
Pretty.
toy.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Well, listen, Mark. I would say before we let you go, let us know where we can find you on the web. But you are a man of mystery. So where can we learn more about Transformers? Where can we find out the latest news?
Well, of course, always check on Instagram. Official Transformers account is obviously where all the drops go. Hasbro Pulse, always constantly check Hasbro Pulse. There's always goodies popping up on there. And stay tuned for more Transformer Tuesdays coming out, and Fan First Fridays, and all kinds of cool live shows for you guys. There's a pretty packed slate coming, so be prepared.
We're ready. We're at the ready.
All right. I'm sure you guys
Mark,
are.
thank you so much for taking the time to be on the pod with us tonight. This was so much fun, and thank you for sharing your passion with all of us.
Thank you. You guys are the best. This has been an awesome experience, and I can't wait to do another. Let's slate another one in there.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.